everybody, and welcome to American Top 40. My name is Wink Martindale, and I'll be sitting in for Casey Kasem this week while he's on vacation. Last week, as you know, Casey did his special countdown of the 40 top rock and roll artists of the 1950s. And while he was playing some of the biggest hits from 20 years ago, 4 new songs debuted on American Top 40. This week, there are 9 debut records, which incidentally marks an all-time high in the history of AT40. And by the way, we have a brand new number 1 this week. So let's get started. Time now on American Top 40 for the first Top 40 hit by the daughter of one of the all-time great artists in the history of popular music. Her dad was a giant on the charts for 20 years, from the mid-40s when he first began hitting until he died in 1965. And during his fantastic career, he racked up an incredible string of hits that make him the 5th biggest recording artist in chart history. The man, of course, was the incomparable Nat King Cole. And last week, one of his daughters debuted on the 40 with her very first chart record. Moving up to number 26 this week and doing her own thing, here's Natalie Cole, and this will be
American Top 40.
Now we're up to the 4th Top 40 hit by a lady who told us, "I knew when I was a little girl that I'd be something special, but I never thought I'd be a singer." Now, coming from most young girls, that statement wouldn't turn many heads, right? But coming from the daughter of one of the most popular and influential ballad singers in the history of popular music, well, it's sort of a traffic stopper.
Even though it's been so long, my love for you keeps
The lady is the daughter of
going.
Nat King Cole. And while Natalie Cole was growing up in Los Angeles during the 50s, her home was filled with some of the biggest names in the music business. Giants like Harry Belafonte, Ella Fitzgerald, Duke Ellington, and many, many others. Now, with a background like that, you might think she'd be a natural to follow into her father's footsteps, right? But after high school, Natalie enrolled in the University of Massachusetts as a psychology major. Her interests began to change during her junior year when she took a summer job as a waitress at a local club. And just for fun, with lots of encouragement from her friends, she began singing at the club on weekends. Well, that was about all it took for Nat King Cole's daughter to switch from psychology to music. That was 5 years ago. Last year, she picked up 2 Grammy Awards for Best R&B Performance by a Female Singer and for the Best New Artist of the Year. This year, she won again in the category of Best R&B Performance. Her latest hit is at number 27, and it's titled, "I Got Love on My Mind." Natalie Cole.
I've got love.
American Top 40.
This is Casey on AT40 in Hollywood, and now I have the latest hit by one of the biggest pop and soul stars in the country, who as a child met the singer of her dreams in a strange place. It was about 20 years ago when this artist was 8 years old. She looked out the window one day of her home, and there, swimming around the pool in her backyard, was Harry Belafonte. Now, it wasn't so unusual to find a famous person at her home. Her parents entertained many well-known people. But this one was different. He was her first big idol. Well, the little girl was very shy, and it took her a long time before she got up the courage to walk outside and to talk to Harry Belafonte. And when she did, she found out that he was every bit as friendly as he was good-looking and talented. He even splashed around in the pool with her for a while. And when they climbed out, Harry went inside to visit with the little girl's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Nat King Cole. These days, Natalie Cole is a big star in her own right. And this week, her latest hit moves up 2 on American Top 40 to number 16, Our Love.
American Top 40.
This is Casey on American Top 40 in Hollywood. Well, now we're up to the current hit by a very close relative of the biggest-selling black recording artist in history, who was the second son of a Baptist minister in Montgomery, Alabama. His name, Nathaniel Cole. And he began playing piano when he was just 4 years old. By the time he was 11, he was the organist in his father's church. By his early 20s, he was known among jazz fans as leader of the King Cole Trio. He played piano and sang and went on to become one of the most popular singers of the 40s, 50s, and 60s. His first hit was in 1944, a song called Straighten Up and Fly Right. Over the next 20 years, he hit the pop singles chart 77 times, including 4 number ones. But there was a tragic side to his life. Besides his reputation as the great balladeer with a smoky voice, Nat King Cole was also known as a compulsive chain smoker. In 1965, he died of lung cancer at the young age of 44. But Nat Cole had already scored enough hits to be ranked, still to this day, as the biggest selling black recording act of all time. Well, when Nat Cole's daughter Natalie decided on a singing career some years ago, she was choosing some mighty illustrious footsteps to be following in. But she hasn't faltered. In 5 years, she's hit number 1 on the soul chart 5 times and has made the top 40 on the pop chart 6 times. At number 28 this week, here's Natalie Cole with Someone That I Used to Love.
When I wake up,
American Top 40.
We're on our way to the number 1 song in the USA. Now we're up to the singer who once had it all. Hit records, Grammy Awards, fame and fortune. But then in just 2 years, she lost it all. I'm talking about Natalie Cole. And here's her story. As you may already know, Natalie is the daughter of one of the most popular singers of the 40s and 50s and in the history of pop music, Nat King Cole. Well, that's a tough act to follow. But by the time she was 30, Natalie was following in her famous dad's footsteps. She'd racked up 6 top 40 hits and had won 3 Grammy Awards. But Natalie says even though she was a star in her own right, she felt tremendous pressure, like she was living in the shadow of her father. And she says she didn't really like herself much. Those self-doubts made her especially vulnerable to one of the hazards of life in the fast lane, drugs. Natalie started using cocaine. By 1982, she was flat out addicted. Couldn't record anymore, couldn't even take care of herself. Her mother had to be appointed conservator of her estate. She knew she needed help, even checked into a few drug rehabilitation centers, but never stayed. Natalie had hit rock bottom. Finally, in 1983, she went to the Hazelden Hospital in Minnesota, where she stayed for 6 months. She kicked her drug addiction and started getting her confidence back. By 1985, she was recording again. Natalie said, "Looking back, it seems like I was a different person. When you take drugs, you start out not liking yourself and you end up hating yourself. It warps your judgment, your perspective. I'd lost my mind. I came so close to dying because of drugs that it's scary. But now I've been given a second chance, and now I like myself." End of quote from Natalie Cole. Here's her first top 40 hit in 7 years, Jumpstart. As the countdown rocks on.
Casey's Coast to Coast.